Again, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. So I think we're ready for today's activity. We'd like to ask everybody to please stand as we begin our activity with the prayer and the singing of National Anthem. Let's bow our heads and feel the presence of the Lord. Our most gracious and loving Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for this new day that you've added into our lives. Thank you for the wonderful blessings, especially our jobs that support our needs. Thank you for the presence of our officers and staff from the regional and provincial offices as we are once again gathered online for another learning experience. May you stay in our midst, Lord, and give us the wisdom and understanding we need for the discussion of this new program of DILG that will improve the delivery of service of the LGUs as well as the national government agencies. Lord, teach us to encourage one another that we may stay passionate in doing our jobs. May you always remind us how fortunate we are to be working with the government, as this is a venue to serve you through serving people. We take this opportunity also, Father, to pray for our family members, office mates, and friends who are suffering from physical and emotional pain. May you always stay by their side and give them the comfort and healing that they need. Lord, forgive us from our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Be with us throughout the day, Lord, and protect us from any harm and danger. All this we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, pero sa sigananan, alam ng puso, sa dikit mo'y buhay. Lupang binirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa manluluping, di ka pasisigil, sa nagatang tutok sa simoy at sa langit kong bagaw, ay hinagang tula, kawit sa paglayang minamahal. Matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitigil, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magtitigil. Lumanang araw ng maraming pagsikta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hinigaya na pagkay mga aking, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Again, isang magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Maaari po ba nating i-open ang ating mga cameras para makita natin ang mga nagagandahan at nagwagwapuhang mukha natin. So, ayan, medyo exciting po ang araw na to because we will be learning a new program of DILG. At napahapyawan na natin ito dati, pero ngayon po mas medyo detalyado ang ating magiging learning experience. So, gusto po nating i-acknowledge yung mga kasamahan natin na nandito online. So, we start with, of course, dito po sa ating regional office. Kasama po natin online ang ating Assistant Regional Director, Ma'am Agnes. Isang magandang umaga po sa inyo. Also with us is our FAD Chief, Ma'am Alicia Bangwa. Good morning, ma'am. Later on po, mag-on-board din ang mga ang ating mga division chiefs po from LGCDD and LGMed. Also, we have with us in this training room is our focal person for Mandanas from LGCDD, si Ma'am Amelie Dulay. And si Sir Mike kasama po natin. And of course, ang ating IT, si Sir Marlden, kasama natin ngayon. We would like also to acknowledge our participants from the province of Ilocos Norte, headed by our OICPD, Sir Roger Dakiwag, our cluster leader, Ma'am Aleli Tunak, our program manager, Ma'am Princess Eliza Caranay, all the field officers, provincial focal person, and provincial office staff. Isang magandang umaga po dyan. Kaway-kaway naman po from Ilocos Norte. Good morning. From Ilocos Sur, headed by Provincial Director Randy De La Rosa.
Ang liwanag, ang liwanag.
Ayan, may nakikita ng
Morning,
liwanag. Good morning po. From Ilocos Sur nga po, kasama din po natin ang ating cluster leader, Ma'am Mila Madriaga, Program Manager, Ma'am Cherry Pestaño, Field Officers, Provincial Focal Person, and Provincial Office Staff. Kaway-kaway from Sure, Ilocos Sur. Good morning. Wala ko naririnig. Naririnig niyo po ba ako?
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Morning po, ayan.
Good morning,
Energy.
Alet.
Morning po. From La Union, headed by Provincial Director Virgilio Sison. Magandang
Good
umaga,
morning,
sir.
Alet.
Good
Good
morning
morning,
po.
ma'am.
Our cluster leader, Ma'am Rosalie Charina Flora. Program Manager. Morning, ma'am. Ma'am Nicolette May Amon.
Good morning.
Morning po. Our field officers, provincial focal person, and provincial office staff. Isang magandang umaga po sa atin dito sa La Union.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes po. From Pangasinan, headed by Provincial Director Paulino Lalata Jr. Isang magandang umaga, sir. Kasama ang ating mga cluster leaders, si Sir Rogelio Quitola, Sir Domiciano Soriano Jr., and Sir Andres Benjola Jr., together also with our program manager, Sir Calvin Noli Julius Lubrin, our field officers, provincial focal person, and provincial office staff. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Good morning.
Morning.
Also, good morning po. We would like to acknowledge the presence also of the following LGUs po na nag-log in sa ating training. By the way po, itong ating online orientation is for, ito pong una is for the DILG field officers. Plus may susunod po tayo na for LGUs. But we would like to welcome ang ating mga LGUs na kasama ngayon na nag-log in po. From Mangaldan, magandang umaga po. Hello, ma'am. From Lawak, Pangasinan. We also have from Tubao, Suwal, Bagulin, Bugalyon, San Fabian, and San Nicolas, Pangasinan. Isang magandang umaga po sa inyo. And of course, to formally welcome us in this event, we would like to call on our regional director na ngayon po ang daming activities. Ma'am, salamat po at nagpunta kayo dito ngayon. Let's welcome our regional director, Ma'am Julie Dakiwag. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you, Alet. May I request that we will have the photo shoot habang tayo fresh. Yeah.
Ay, sige.
Open your camera. Kaysa naman pag late at the end of the session, konti na lang yung maiiwan. Okay, so where are your best smiles? Host.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
One, two, three.
Smile.
Smile.
Plate one. Next.
And marami pang hindi naka-turn on ang camera. Paki-on na lang po para ma-document natin ang presence ninyo. Ayan, so okay na. Thank you po.
Wala kayong mukha. Okay. Thank you, Alet. Good morning again. It's Thursday morning and
Good morning, ma'am. Good
Yeah.
morning, ma'am.
we are blessed for this beautiful morning. Again, we will have a very important activity this morning, a remarkable one, because as Alet said, this is one new program that our department is engaged into together with other agencies like the Department of Budget and Management, the Civil Service Commission, ang ating Department of Finance, and the rest. as provided for in Executive Order 138. So we've been hearing about the Mandanas-Garcia ruling and our local government units. Thank you so much for our LGUs from Pangasinan. I think Alet, di ba? Galing Pangasinan lahat ang mga LGUs who are here with us. And we thank you so much for that interest for participating this morning. We will have another session with the local government units, I think. And anyway, we thank you so much because we want that there will be just one theme, just one messaging pertaining to how the mandanas will take into place sa ating local government units. So to all our regional, provincial, municipal, city, field officers, I thank you so much for your effort, for your time for this morning. Anyway, it will just be half day because I know that we have so many activities. We're running for the safety seal certification. I know that you're very busy with the inspection and certification. I would just like to relay what Secretary Anyu said during our Mantom last July 1. And this is giving gratitude and appreciation to all field officers who are there battling the pandemic and at the same time delivering the goods and services expected of us being DILG officers. So kudos to all of us. Thank you so much. Walang pagbabago, ganun pa rin ang Region 1 aiming towards always number 1. So we can empower local government units, of course. This is one mantra of the ILG. We empower local government units, but how to do this? Of course, we have to empower first ourselves. That's why we are doing this orientation, this rollout, briefing, whatever you call it, because we cannot give what we do not have. So to empower local government units, we need to empower ourselves, and that is in terms of thematic, in terms of subject, in terms of the programs and projects. We need to know all this by heart because there's no one in the local government unit who will deliver all these mandates, this mission and vision that we have, ours at the local government units, except our field officers. So very primordial and very, very important is the role of our field officers, regional man, provincial, city, municipal man yan. Tayong lahat, we have our terms of reference in terms of the sharing and in terms of the spreading of what Mandanas and Garcia ruling is. So much so have been said about it, but a little still ang ating pagkakaintindi at ang ating knowledge pertaining to all these things. We need the resource experts, just like the Department of Budget and Management, how local government units are affected in terms of the preparation of their budget later on. We know that budget calendar is here. And paano ba yan? And then how is it in terms of the devolved services? From the different line agencies who are devolving basic services to the local government units. Paano yung devolution transition plan, and paano yung gagawin natin CapDev agenda in preparation for all this implementation of Mandanas-Garcia ruling. So many things have to be tackled, so many things have to be understood, so many things we need to grasp in terms of the Mandanas-Garcia ruling so that we can assist and empower our local government units. So I know we have resource experts invited, Alet, sa atin, and the orientation, we can get your inputs, your suggestions, comments, etc. So that we can clarify also sa taas things that we cannot really understand, things that are not so clear to us. So please pay attention to our resource experts, to our sharers, because there's no one who can help you out there sa field except yourself. We have our cluster leaders, of course. We have our program managers, provincial directors, but pagsabay-sabay yan na orientation, how could be, huwag ka nang maghintay na the next week or following week pa to do orientation and briefing sa inyong lugar. So, kailangan alam natin yung concept ng Mandanas-Garcia ruling so that pag go na tayo lahat, massive na yung orientation and briefing, then we can stand alone sa ating local government units, not waiting for other friends or other resource experts to do the orientation to us. That is one way of capacitating you and one way of capacitating our field officers. Gone are those days na hintayan pa tayo, friend, handli ka dito, tulungan mo ako dito. But there's the cluster thing. Okay, alam ko naman na there's the clustering where we can help one another. Pero pag sabay-sabay, mahirap na maghintayan. So pay attention yung hindi masyadong malinaw sa atin as kung kaya natin sagutin natin. If not, we can refer to other agencies who are expert on these topics, particularly on budgeting and the personnel complementation at paano mangyayari yung mga options, incentives to people or to government workers to be affected by the devolution, full devolution of the services. And along with RD RIA of DBM, I think there are 5 agencies already finished. They have already finished their devolution package. Ano ba yung ibababa nila sa LGU and so on and so forth, and how will be the personal complementation and so on and so forth. So sa ating mga field officers, sinabi ni Secretary, we are everywhere. Nandun tayong lahat, programa ng ating pamahalaan, nandun tayong lahat. Alam nyo na nung pandemic, andun tayo sa SAF, andun din tayo sa mga protocols, andun tayo sa border protocols, andun, lahat tayo andun. Returning overseas LSIs and so on and so forth. This time, we are into the vaccination, immunization, monitoring system. We have the safety seal for the minimum public health services, public health protocols. We are into disaster, peace and order, and PFL COP, and so on and so forth. Ang dami-dami natin programa, all geared towards the empowerment and assistance will be from us to the local government units. So pag-igihan natin, we are very, very proud to be in this department because the Department of the Interior and Local Government is everywhere. Tumutulong yan in terms of the supervision, general supervision of local government units, and general supervision means we look into how the local government units comply with the different MCs, advisories, executive orders, memo circulars, and the rest. So if they are complying, very good. If they are lacking, tulungan natin. We will help them, assist them in terms of how these things should be. And anticipation also is our SGLGB, the Seal of Good Local Governance Barangay. We will have massive briefing rollout on this. And very important also that will happen this July. Please take note is the rollout on how to do DTPs and the CAPDEV agenda. The devolution transition plan is very important, wherein our department together with DBM, CSC, DOF, and others will be helping local government units prepare the DTPs, the Devolution Transition Plan, which is very important for the implementation of Mandanas-Garcia ruling, and then the CAPDEV agenda, of course, that will be ours to train local government units, but we empower first ourselves. So when I asked the secretary when is the time for the rollout of DTPs, Devolution Transition Plan, and the CAPDEV agenda, because we need to do this ASAP, because LGUs are now interested and LGUs are preparing for the budget calendar. So July, sabi ni Secretary and the Undersecretary for Local Government, Marlo Iringan. So July will be the massive orientation for all these things. These are new things again, but the CAPDEV agenda has been with us since the time na mga 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Alam na natin yung CAPDEV agenda, but there will be some modifications siguro in terms of suiting it to the Mandanas-Garcia ruling. So marami tayong trabaho, but we have to put in mind that we have to keep safe. Foremost is keeping safe ikaw at iyong pamilya. So maintain, let's observe all the minimum public health safety protocols while we're doing the inspection of the safety seal awarding. Be very careful. Lahat tayo, i-protect natin yung sarili, yung office mates and the family, so that when we are healthy, we can deliver the goods and services effectively and efficiently. Okay, so marami na akong nasabi, Alet. So I hope we can start making good use of the time left for us for the orientation. So good morning everyone, good morning Region 1. Maraming salamat, Naimbag Abigat, and magandang umaga sa mga hindi sa mga hindi nakakaintindi ng Ilocanos. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. O, kung hindi niyo maintindihan ng Tagalog, good morning everyone. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma'am Julie po, for your opening remarks or message for everybody. Yes po. Actually, ito pong ating orientation ngayon is an initiative of our regional office. Pero ang mga gagamitin po nating materials ay pinagsama-sama natin. Galing po yan sa BLGD para po sa mga iba't ibang speakers, kay Yusek Iringan, kay Ma'am Director Ana, and meron din mga contributions from LGA po. Lahat po to pinagsama-sama po natin para maumpisahan na po natin ang ating how we learn more about Mandanas. Kasi marami na pong mga LGUs nga po ang nagre-request po ng ating technical assistance or orientation nga po nila. So again, Ma'am Julie, maraming salamat po for giving us, your time po para dito. Alam namin sobrang busy po. So let's proceed na. Ano po ba yung mga pag-uusapan natin ngayong araw na to? So yun nga po, if you remember, I think first quarter when we had a brief background on the Mandanas-Garcia cases. Present po lahat ng ating mga field officers dito noon, pero sobrang pahapyaw pa lang and hindi pa talaga nilalabas noon yung mga materials kasi dinedevelop pa talaga. So now, magkakaroon tayo ng at least mas detalyadong background po on this SC ruling. And then we will discuss again the salient features of the Executive Order 138. As we all know, officially po lumabas ng ating EO 138. We will also tackle the LGU performance capacity quadrants as presented by BLGD and LGA. And the overview of the LGU Devolution Transition Plan. Overview pa lang po kasi wala pa pong guidelines na lumalabas dun sa preparation or kung ano po yung actual na itsura ng Devolution Transition Plan. Magkakaroon pa lang po ng massive rollout niyan in the future, pero in the near future within July. But sa ngayon po, titignan lang natin para at least may pahapyaw lang tayo ano yung mga kasama sa Devolution Transition Plan. Actually, na nasa EO 138 naman po yun. And then we will present the communications plan, ano yung mga core messages din natin na kailangang ipahatid sa LGUs at sa general public para iisa pong mensahe natin pagdating sa pag-communicate po ng Mandanas. And then we will discuss some frequently asked questions on Mandanas-Garcia SC ruling that will help us also kapag may mga nagtanong po sa atin. And then we will have the open forum. So yun po. Okay. So yan, hindi na natin patatagalin. Umpisahan na po natin. So yun nga po, preparations for the implementation of the Supreme Court ruling on Mandanas-Garcia cases. So, ano nga po ba yung Mandanas-Garcia case? Sabi kasi, yun nga, this Mandanas ruling sa ating bansa. So beginning 2022, the LGUs will have more fiscal resources to help them in the provision of services to their constituents. So tingnan muna po natin kung ano ba itong mga cases na to. So these cases, there are two separate petitions kasi filed to the Supreme Court. This petition was filed by then Congressman Mandanas and Congressman Enrique Garcia. So the first case is they questioned the manner in which the NGAs computed the ERA shares of LGUs, and accordingly asked the Supreme Court to mandate the NGAs to compute the ERA based on all national taxes encompassing national internal revenue taxes. And then the next is they demanded for the payment of additional unpaid ERA na umabot po sa 500 billion for the years 1992 to 2012, claiming that the computation of the ERA was wrong. Mula noong 1991 po na inception of the local government code. So, tingnan po natin ano yung mga related legal provisions. So some of the related legal provisions or the legal basis that support the SC ruling is Article 10, Section 6 of the 1987 Constitution. Ang sabi dito, local government units shall have a just share as determined by law in the national taxes which shall be automatically released to them. Another one is Section 284 of the Local Government Code of 1991. It provides that local government units shall have a share in the national internal revenue taxes based on the collection of the third fiscal year preceding the current fiscal year. Third is Section 21 of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, which enumerates what are included in the national internal revenue taxes. So sabi, dun sa National Internal Revenue Taxes, ito yung mga income tax, estate and donors taxes, value-added tax, other percentage taxes, excise taxes, documentary stamp taxes, such other taxes imposed and collected by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. The national taxes include those imposed by the national government, including customs duties and other taxes collected by the Bureau of Customs and all other agencies. Yan po. So kasi previously, ang share lang ng LGUs nanggagaling sa National Internal Revenue, pero sabi, kailangan pala kasama yung sa mga taxes collected by the Bureau of Customs and other agencies. Next. So there are a number of motions for reconsideration filed, and eventually the SC ruled in finality that the National Internal Revenue taxes as the base for determining the just share of LGUs provided in Section 284 of the Local Government Code, enacted by Congress, contravened the expressed provision in Section 6, Article 10 of 1987 Constitution, which explicitly mentions national taxes as the source of the just share of the LGUs. However, the Supreme Court also dismissed the claims of LGUs for the settlement by the national government of arrears in the just share on the ground that this decision shall have prospective application. Therefore, the 40% share of LGUs will now be based on all national taxes and not be limited to national internal revenue taxes. That has been the practice since the inception of the code. So what is the impact of the Supreme Court ruling to the national and local governments? Next. So there will be a positive impact. There is a projected windfall increase in LG resources, considering that the increase of ERA shares of LGUs will amount to 234.3 billion, or about 27.62%. Based on the preliminary computation of Department of Finance, the projected ERA in FY 2022 before the SC decision is around 848.44 billion. Now that the SC ruling will be implemented in 2022, projected ERA of LGUs is estimated to be around 1.083 trillion. The negative impact of this, there will be a decrease in the national government's funds as resources will be downloaded to LGUs. So there's a need for the national government to reposition its resources, priorities, and responsibilities. So since we are only talking about one pie, there will be the same proportion, pareho pa rin yan, per LGU level, pero mag-i-increase lang yung amount. So the national tax allocation will still be distributed to LGUs as provided for by the local government code. 23% for provinces, 23% for cities, and 34% for municipalities, tapos 20% for barangays. It will be distributed across the number of LGUs per level. So ano naman ang implication po ng SC ruling? So more resources, sabi nga natin more resources for LGU service delivery. So the SC ruling is focused on expanding the fiscal autonomy of LGUs. The increase of ERA will help fund devolved basic services such as health, agriculture, education, disaster management, peace and order, and public safety, among others. Therefore, LGUs are expected to ensure basic services are delivered efficiently and effectively in a standard scale. Tapos, for NGAs naman, there will be fewer resource for PPAs. PPAs of NGAs that encompass the roles and service delivery functions of LGUs will be removed and devolved to LGUs. With the fewer PPAs to be performed by NGAs, they are expected to perform less implementation and more on oversight functions. Isa pang implication po ng SC ruling is a greater demand for CapDev or for capacity and supervision of LGUs. So expanded oversight role of DILG, exercise of oversight responsibilities of provinces, cities, and municipalities over their respective component LGUs. With the projected increase in LGU resources, NGAs are expected to transition to a more catalytic role as technical assistance providers and performance oversight. LGUs are thus expected to assume implementation of devolved functions as prescribed under the local government code and other pertinent laws. With LGUs assuming more of the devolved functions and in consideration of the varying capacities of LGUs, LGU absorptive capacity poses a challenge. So ito naman yung babantayan natin ng absorptive capacity ng mga LGUs natin. So magkakaroon po ngayon tayo ng shift of NGA function. At the national level, there is now a call to shift nga po of functions wherein NGAs shall largely be performing oversight functions. So from rowing to steering and focusing primarily on the Department of Policy and Service Delivery Standards, capacity building, provision of technical assistance, and LGU compliance monitoring. So national government has to prioritize its programs and projects that they should implement, and this should complement what the local government units will now carry out with the increased resources. So yun yung sinasabi natin, kailangan ma-align yung mga ilalagay ng LGU po sa kanilang devolution transition plan. Ia-align ngayon ito ng mga national government agencies. So proceed naman po tayo sa EO 138. Sabi nga po natin, lumabas na ito noong June 1. So what are the salient features? Ano po ba yung nandito sa ating Executive Order 138? So EO 138 or the full devolution of certain functions of the executive branch to local governments, creation of a committee on devolution and for other purposes. Yun po yung title ng EO 138. This was issued on June 1, sabi nga natin, 2021. The EO is intended to serve as a necessary mechanism as the government prepares for the full implementation of the Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas-Garcia cases starting 2022 to ensure fiscal sustainability, continual provision of basic services, further strengthen and affirm the autonomy of LGUs, as provided in the Constitution and the Local Government Code, and put an end to a long-standing problem of duplication of responsibilities between national government and LGUs. So in the executive order, ito po yung mga salient features niya. We have the delineation of national government and LGU roles. This is to address the issue of duplication of services and to maximize the use of resources. And then the preparation of the national government agencies and LGUs, devolution transition plans. This is part of the implementation, of course, of the SC ruling. The establishment of the Growth Equity Fund to address naman the issues on unequal development, high poverty incidence, and disparities in the net fiscal capacities of LGUs. And then the creation of the Committee on Devolution to oversee the implementation of the provisions of the executive order. And then we have the provision of capacity building for LGUs, highlighting the need to strengthen planning, investment programming, and budgeting linkage, as well as monitoring and evaluation systems and tools. The development of the appropriate communications plan and strategy to properly communicate and disseminate the goals and objectives of full devolution, and the available options for personnel of the national government who will be affected by the transition. So sa ating yun nga, functions, services, and facilities for full devolution. Ito yung under Section 3 and 4 of the Executive Order. So the Executive Order under Section 3 covers all LGUs as well as all departments, agencies, and instrumentalities of the executive branch with devolved functions to LGUs. So we would like to emphasize that the EO provides for the full devolution of functions, services, and facilities from national government to LGUs based on the local government code and other pertinent laws passed after the code. It is emphasized that there are no new, walang bago, walang additional functions na made-devolve po sa LGUs. Magbe-base po lahat tayo sa Section 17 ng Local Government Code. There will be shared functions. This will be broken down into more specific competencies. Example, health, agriculture, infrastructure, in which the national government is responsible for their competencies, and there will be delegated functions. So this for which exclusive responsibilities for service is assigned to LGUs. Ano ba yung mga devolved services na sinasabi po natin sa Section 17 ng Local Government Code? So, we would like to, yun nga, emphasize na naman, ito yung mga services and facilities na na-devolve na ng Local Government Code. Next, please. Ayan, nababasa po ba natin? So ito na yung mga talaga namang na-devolve na po noon pa sa according to Section 17 nga. For agriculture, ayan, na-devolve sa provinces, municipalities, city and barangays yung agriculture extension and on-site research services. Same with the local infrastructure services, National Resource Management Services, Environmental Services, Tax Information and Collection Services, Health Services, and then for Investment and Job Placement Information Systems, nandyan yan sa municipalities and cities. For Social Welfare Services, lahat yan, province, municipality, city, and barangays. For Transportation Services, na-devolve yan sa municipalities and cities. For tourism, sa province, municipality, and city. Housing services, provinces, and cities. And for other services, devolved to provinces, municipalities, and cities. So this, again, is based on Section 17 of our Local Government Code. So another feature of the EO 138 is the preparation of devolution transition plans. So to ensure the smooth implementation of the transition to full devolution, the EO provides for NGAs to prepare the respective DTPs or devolution transition plans, which shall be submitted to the DBM for evaluation and approval within 120 days after the effectivity of the EO. So yun po, yung sa NGA na devolution transition plan, isasubmit sa DBM. Sabi, approval within 120 days after the effectivity of EO. So paano yan? June 1 effective yung ating executive order. Magbibilang ba tayo ng 120 days after June 1? Ang sagot po dyan ay hindi, kasi may guidelines pong lalabas para sa preparation ng devolution transition plan. Doon po nila ilalagay yung timeline po. So kasi atrasado po kung i-start natin ng June 1. So among others, the National Government Devolution Transition Plan shall include the following: identification of devolved functions and services and phasing of or strategy for devolution, the definition of service delivery standards and capacity development strategy for LGUs. Now, for the LGU Devolution Transition Plan, LGUs to prepare their DTPs in close coordination with pertinent NGAs. The DTP shall not be approved by NGAs. Ang mag-a-approve po ng Devolution Transition Plan ng LGUs ay ang kanilang sanggunian. Mamaya po makikita natin kung paano yung submission or yung pag-communicate or pag-share natin ng Devolution Transition Plan. So the components of LGU Devolution Transition Plan, mahihimay ito mamaya po, ay yung inventory of existing services versus devolved functions, phased assumption of devolved function services and facilities, organizational effectiveness proposal, local revenue forecast and resource mobilization strategy, and strategy to meet service delivery standards and contributions to Philippine Development Plan outcomes. Now, for Section 6 of the EO 138, which is the creation of Committee on Devolution, the committee shall be composed of the following members: Ang ating chairperson po dito is the Secretary of Budget and Management. Co-chair po ang ating SILG. And then Secretaries of Finance and Socio-Economic Planning, Executive Secretary, and Presidents of the Leagues of Provinces, Cities, Municipalities of the Philippines, Liga ng mga Barangay sa Pilipinas, and Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines as members. Section 7 of EO 138, to monitor and evaluate the status of the implementation of devolution transition plans, compel compliance and impose sanctions against non-performing NGAs and LGUs, and provide recommendations based on annual assessments. Under Section 8 of EO 138 is the establishment of Growth Equity Fund. So the Growth Equity Fund shall be established starting FY 2022 to address problem of marginalization, unequal development, and high poverty incidents across different LGUs. So yun nga po, kasi syempre hindi pare-pareho yung capacity ng ating mga LGUs in terms of their finances. So ito po ay gagawin ng pag-establish ng Growth Equity Fund. Later on, makikita po natin paano to. Gagawin din po yung guidelines paano natin matutulungan yung mga LGUs. Ito po ay from DBM. Section 9 naman of the EO 138 is the capacity development for LGUs. So in view of the devolution of certain functions from NGAs, the LGUs shall formulate their capacity development agenda based on the assessment framework and guidelines to be issued by the DILG Local Government Academy and guided by the strategy for capacity development of the LGUs contained in the NGA Devolution Transition Plans, Local Development Thrusts, and Performance Goals and Objectives. The DILG through LGA shall institute mechanisms to harmonize all capacity development interventions to ensure efficient allocation of resources that will be allocated for the purpose. The DAP, or the Development Academy of the Philippines, shall strengthen the capacities of local chief executives. And the Department of Finance and BLGF shall conduct capacity development programs relative to revenue generation and fiscal management. Further, under the executive order, the DILG is directed to develop other capacity development strategies, facilitate institutionalization of performance standards, and develop performance incentive mechanisms under the SGLG to promote excellence in local governance under devolution setup. So to ensure continuity in the efficient and effective service delivery, capacity development intervention shall be offered preferably to career or permanent local government personnel as a means of institutional strengthening. Section 11 of Executive Order 138 is the strengthening of planning, investment programming, and budgeting linkage and M&E systems. The vertical and the horizontal linkages across different levels of government in development planning, investment programming, and budgeting shall be strengthened to align national, regional, and local priorities. This can be done through improved coordination, synchronization, and joint execution of programs and projects. The role of the RDCs, which set the strategic direction for faster development of the regions, especially in the lagging areas, and facilitate alignment of the local development and the land use plans with the goals, objectives, and targets in the PDP and the respective regional development plans. So these are being highlighted. So the RDCs and the regional development plans and investment programs can serve as platforms for convergence as well as vertical and horizontal alignment thus making concrete LGU contributions to regional and national priorities. So the DILG, DBM, Department of Finance, and NEDA circulars shall be updated, and the synchronized local planning and budgets calendar shall be recalibrated accordingly. So likewise, our results-based M&E systems shall be in place and strengthened to ensure purposive conduct of evaluations in the performance and delivery of devolved functions and services. Section 7 of EO 138 is the development of communications plan and strategy. So the national government shall lead in the development of a strong communications plan and strategies to convey to the general public the delineation of functions between NGAs and LGUs. NGAs shall design focal officials and personnel to participate in this communications effort. The LGUs are encouraged to formulate their respective communications plan and strategies to effectively carry out the devolution efforts. So tayo po dito sa DILG, actually nagkaroon po ng meeting with PACS sa central office noong June po, at nag-formulate na po tayo ng ating Stratcom or ating communications plan. Paano ba natin i-communicate itong programang ito sa mga LGUs at sa general public? So, the PACS presented yung mga core messages at saka yung mga taglines, ganyan, naggawa din po ng AVP. Paano natin i-share to sa lahat po? Later on po, papakita natin yung mga core messages para iisang mensahe lang po yung ipaparating natin sa general public and sa mga ibang stakeholders po natin. So for Section 12 of EO 138 naman, ano naman yung options ng mga personnel ng national government na maaapektuhan po nitong ating devolution? So una, transfer to other units within the agency is one option. And then transfer to other agencies within the executive branch. So retire, the third one is to retire or be separated from the service and be given preference to vacant positions in LGUs. It should be emphasized that there should be no involuntary separation, termination, or layoff or of permanent personnel of NGAs affected by the devolution. Likewise, this full devolution transition effort will not involve the automatic transfer of national government personnel to LGUs. So hindi po yun automatic na transfer. On the other hand, for the contractual personnel in the departments or agencies who were hired for the implementation of the devolved functions, the DBM is setting up a mechanism to identify those who are willing to be absorbed by the LGUs and to provide the LGUs with this list so that LGUs can take advantage from the experiences and technical expertise of these personnel. Sabi pa dito, affected personnel with permanent appointment who would opt to retire or separate from the service shall be given the option to avail of retirement benefits under existing laws if qualified. Yan. Proceed naman po tayo dito sa ating LGU performance capacity quadrants. Napag-usapan natin kanina na yung sa CapDev agenda ng mga LGUs. Ito po yung ating framework na makakatulong po sa atin kung ano yung mga interventions or yung ano yung mga pwedeng ilagay po ng LGUs sa kanilang CapDev agenda. So in this presentation, the framework for reckoning capacity requirements and providing capacity support, we will tackle this sa slide na to. So with the several consultation sessions with stakeholders, the varying capacities of LGUs to fully assume the devolved functions and services have been pointed out. So in line with this, the department proposes the adoption of the LGU performance capacity quadrants to classify LGUs according to levels of capacity and performance. Ang basehan po natin dito ay ang results ng SGLG. This will help define the transition approaches that will respond to the distinct need of the LGU vis-a-vis the requirements of full devolution. So the regional offices, through the Local Governance Regional Resources Centers, LGRRCs, will help determine which LGUs belong under each of the 4 quadrants. Tignan po natin sa quadrant 1. Sabi dito, high capacity, high performance LGUs. Ang tawag natin dito, evolve. So evolve LGUs with high capacity and high performance into sources of good practice and innovation and exemplars of local governance under full devolution. So yun yung mga LGUs na mapupunta sa quadrant 1. For quadrant 2, this will be the enable LGUs with low capacity to unlock capacity issues, to seize in full the promises of full devolution, and reinforce performance because of targeted capacity development solutions. Quadrant 3, tawag natin dito engage LGUs with low capacity and low performance to catch up with other LGUs and provide them with targeted capacity development solutions. And quadrant 4, high capacity, low performance LGUs. Ito ay energize LGUs with high capacity to translate this into high performance in the context of full devolution through targeted capacity development solutions. Using the capacity performance profile of the LGUs developed through the analysis of the LGU capacity development agenda and performance, LGUs targeted for capacity development will be prioritized according to the following categorization of capacity development interventions. So, anong mga to? These are foundational, enabling, and developmental. So for priority 1, ang priority 1 po natin kasi ay ang ating engage LGUs. Sabi engaged, we call them engage. Engage LGUs with low capacity, low performance. So LGUs under this category shall be prioritized with a mix of foundational, enabling, and developmental capacity development solutions. This shall allow LGUs to catch up with others under full devolution. Ano ba yung mga under foundational na category? Sabi andito ang mag-focus daw sa planning, investment, programming, budgeting implementation, and M&E. So, kung titingnan natin sa priority 1, mix yan. Parang lahat kasi low capacity, low performance. So itong tatlong category, kailangan dito tayo mag-focus. Foundational, and then we have the enabling, andyan resilience, peace and security, connectivity, area-wide concerns, international commitments. Also, we have developmental. These are capacities to achieve specific sectoral priorities based on devolved functions. So for LGUs who will fall under the engage quadrant, sa quadrant 3, mag-focus po tayo sa tatlo, sa FED. So dito natin ibabase na yung natin ng ating CapDev agenda. For priority 2, enable LGUs. Ito yung LGUs with low capacity, high performance. So under this category, shall be prioritized with foundational and enabling. So, priority 2. Nasa quadrant 2, focus daw sa foundational and enabling. And for priority 3, ang ating energize. So energize LGUs with high capacity, low performance. So LGUs under this category shall be prioritized with priority 3, enabling and developmental naman. So doon naman magfo-focus para sa mga LGUs under quadrant 4. Sa priority 4, for evolve LGUs with high capacity, high performance, LGUs under this category shall be sources of good practice and innovations and exemplars of local governance under full devolution. So ayan. So sino na lang ang magtutulong po, tutulong sa mga LGUs din. Siyempre, na nangangailangan pa na nandun sa mga priority po na tutulungan natin. So share na lang ng kanilang mga best practice. So yun po yung magiging basehan natin for our CapDev agenda. Mas matutulungan pa po tayo further dito ng ating local government academy kasi sila po talaga yung office in charge of the CapDev of the LGUs. So on February 19, 2021, the DILG issued an advisory apprising LGU officials and functionaries on the preparatory activities being conducted by the department, as well as other NGAs, relative to the implementation of the SC ruling, as well as the salient provisions of the National Budget Memorandum number 138, to keep them abreast of the initiatives that will help them prepare for the transition to full devolution. So the LGUs through this circular were already advised to coordinate and confer with line agencies of government for the delineation of expenditure assignments and service delivery standards, to articulate LGU capacity building needs, determine implications on its organizational structure and staff competency, and proceed with caution in the availment of loans. Ayan po. Natingnan naman natin sa ating devolution transition plan na. Sabi nga po natin, magkakaroon tayo ng another CapDev dito sa ating preparation of devolution transition plans. Dahil wala pa tayong guidelines po sa ngayon, hindi pa, though fina-finalize na, binibilisan po ang pag-finalize ng guidelines at ng kanyang implementing rules and regulations. Para at least tayo po sa DILG, ma-equip muna paano natin i-assist ang ating mga local government units sa preparation ng kanilang devolution transition plan. Pero pahapyaw po, titignan natin para at least po may idea na po tayo pag nagtanong po ang ating mga LGUs and of course sa mga LGUs po na nandito ngayon, kung ano ba ang nilalaman ng DTP. Though wala po akong may papakita, wala po tayong may papakita ngayon na parang anong template nito, anong itsura po nito. Ito po is yung background lang po at saka mga features, ay mga components niya. So the LGU DTP shall serve as the LGU's roadmap to ensure systematic and coherent actions towards its full assumption of devolved functions and services starting 2022. The LGU DTP shall serve as reference of LGUs in carrying out their organizational strengthening efforts in the next 3 years. So plan po ito from 2022 to 2024. And for monitoring the progress of its full assumption of devolved functions and services. So hindi naman po ibig sabihin na like 2022, assume na agad ang LGU. So marami, kaya binigyan po tayo ng 3 taon para hindi po biglaan. This can be used to leverage support from NGAs on their capacity development needs. So from the transition plans na mapre-prepare ng LGUs, ito dito titingnan na ng NGAs. Ano kaya yung mga gagawin natin para ano yung mga CapDev na kailangan ng mga LGUs. So LGUs may further use their DTPs to seek support from other stakeholders like non-government organizations, people's organizations, the business sector, and the academic institutions on areas such as capacity building, service delivery, and livelihood development programs. Ano naman po ang legal basis ng ating preparation of Devolution Transition Plan? Of course, we have Republic Act 7160 or the Local Government Code of 1991, which Section 2, ang sabi, state shall provide for a more responsive and accountable local government structure instituted through a system of decentralization whereby local government units shall be given more powers, authority, responsibilities, and resources. In Section 3, it says the vesting of duty, responsibility, and accountability in local government units shall be accompanied with provision for reasonably adequate resources to discharge their powers and effectively carry out their function. So Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas-Garcia petitions, they order the national government to include all collections of national taxes in the computation of the base of the just share of the local government units. So dito po ang magiging basehan ng pag-modify ng kanilang organizational structure, ng kanilang functions. Yan. So all provincial, city, and municipal local governments shall prepare their respective DTPs to serve as, yun nga po sabi natin, roadmap. This will ensure systematic and coherent actions towards its full assumptions of devolved functions and services. This will also serve as the reference of LGUs in carrying out their organizational strengthening efforts. And this will leverage support from NGAs and other stakeholders on their capacity development needs and guide the design and implementation of NGA devolution transition activities. Sabi nga po kanina, from the proposed devolution transition plans of the LGUs, ito ang magiging basehan naman din ng pag-design ng national government agencies. Kaya pag na-prepare na ng LGUs yung kanilang devolution transition plan approved by their sanggunian, mabibigyan po ng kopya ngayon ang ating ang DILG ang provincial government, ang DILG regional office at mga national government agencies para i-harmonize ng national government agencies ang kanilang devolution transition plan sa proposals din ng LGUs. Hindi po tayo ang mag-a-approve, hindi po DILG ang mag-a-approve ng devolution transition plan ng LGUs. Pero DBM will approve the devolution transition plan of the national government agencies. So what are our guiding principles in the devolution transition plan? So local governments are primarily responsible for providing direct service delivery to their constituencies and will assume a greater responsibility and accountability in ensuring that the level of quality of service delivery, especially for devolved services, is not diminished. So local governments, they're expected to strengthen their capacity and then to take stewardship of their increased fiscal resources. Maging mas responsible po ang ating LGUs sa make sure na nagagamit ng mabuti ang kanilang funds na nag-increase na. And then enhance their organizational capability for service delivery and institute transparent, accountable, and participatory mechanisms to better achieve national and local development objectives. So local governments are encouraged to establish robust partnership with NGAs and the private sector. So ito po, na-mention na kanina ang components ng ating devolution transition plan. Number 1, we have the inventory of existing services. Ano ba yung mga existing, yung ngayon na mga services ng ating local government units? So versus the devolved functions. Ano bang sinasabi ni Section 17 ng Local Government Code? And then we have organizational effectiveness proposal. Tapos the local revenue forecast and resource mobilization and strategy, and the strategy to meet service delivery standards and contributions to Philippine Development Plan outcomes. Dito po tayo sa inventory of existing services versus devolved functions. So in here, sabi nga po natin, based on Section 17 of the Local Government Code, and of course, based on other pertinent laws after the code, gagawa tayo ng inventory ng existing services natin. And then we will prioritize and adopt a phased approach in implementing those functions and services that LGUs have yet to fully assume. Share the inventory with concerned NGAs to inform the design and implementation of their devolution transition activities. So yung mga ginagawa po ng national government agencies na dapat sa LGUs, yun po yung maiiba. For example, sa atin sa DILG, yung mga LGSF natin, yung mga dating ginagawa po natin, na yun pala dapat sa local government units yun. So na-start na po natin na ibigay sa kanila. Another component of the devolution transition plan is the organizational structure and staffing pattern. So si LGU po will modify the organizational structure and staffing pattern. So the modification will be based on the functions and services that they will assume. And then dito naman din maa-anchor ang kanilang CapDev agenda. So for the organizational structure and staffing pattern, or the OSSP, based on the modifications and adjustments, we will be guided with Section 76 of the Local Government Code, or the OSSP, and then Section 325, the Personnel Services Cap Limitation, DBM Budget Circular 2018-4, the revised modified staffing pattern, and the Civil Service Commission minimum standards and guidelines, rules, and regulations. So again, sabi natin, to be approved by Sangguniang concerned, and a copy shall be provided to CSC for review. For the capacity development agenda, anchored on the 6 capacity development pillars, which is the framework for assessing the LGU capacity development requirements to be able to perform its fully assumed functions. So CapDev agenda as component of the CDP shall be reviewed and adjusted in consideration of the functions and services LGUs will fully assume. Again, this will be approved by the Sangguniang concerned, and a copy shall be provided to LGA and concerned NGAs as input to the LGU capacity development strategy. LGUs shall submit a 3-year forecast para sa ating third component na local revenue forecast and resource mobilization strategy. Sorry. So 3 years po ang kanilang forecast na gagawin. Ang kanilang sources for revenue na pwede nilang tingnan po will be the real property taxes, business taxes, fees and charges, and income from economic enterprises, among others. LGUs shall likewise outline their strategy to increase the share of their local revenue vis-a-vis the total income. LGUs may seek the guidance of the Department of Finance, BLGF, in preparing their local revenue forecast and resource mobilization strategy. The fourth component of the devolution transition plan is the strategy to meet service delivery standards and contributions to Philippine Development Plan outcomes. So LGUs shall outline their strategy to meet the service delivery standards developed by the NGAs and its approach to monitoring LGU contributions to PDP outcomes. So kailangan mag-establish ng mechanisms to ensure quality of their services delivery and enforce quality assurance and compliance to standards. So kasama dito sa compliance to service delivery standards, the LGU shall develop mechanisms, sabi nga natin, no, to ensure the quality of its services. Para we can manage the performance reporting. So paano natin, how do we manage performance reporting? This is through the SGLG, Governance Assessment Report, CSIS, and Rate My LGU service or compliance to EODB law. Also to inform the respective planning, budgeting, procurement activities, and human resource management. And to shape the expectation of the public. So how do we contribute to the Philippine Development Plan? So through updating of CDP and CLUP, we will follow the guidelines na naka-enumerate po dito from DILG NEDA DBM DOF JMC number 1, series of 2016, and DILG MC 2019-189. And the updated guidelines on the harmonization of local planning, investment programming, resource mobilization, budgeting, expenditure management, and performance monitoring and coordination in fiscal oversight. We'll also have the guidance on the preparation and or updating of land use and development plans and investment programs. And the guidelines on the localization of Philippine Development Plan 2017 to 2022, result matrices, and the Sustainable Development Goals. So to measure the contribution, we use the following tools, the CBMS and the Provincial Results Matrices. Yan. So once na nagawa na po ang ating devolution transition plan sa LGUs, sabi nga ulit, sinong mag-a-approve ng kanilang DTP na ating mga local sanggunian. So the LGU's devolution transition plan will be given to or mabibigyan ng copy po ang ating DILG. Ito yung tinawag lang natin siyang sharing and communicating LGU DTPs, pero actually ito yung submission po ng ating devolution transition plan. So si LGU, kapag component cities yan and municipalities, pupunta yan sa province, sa kanilang provincial government. Kapag ka naman po sa provinces, yung devolution transition plan ng provinces at ng HUCs and ICCs, pupunta yan sa DILG Regional Office for Harmonization. And copies will also be given to the regional national government agencies to guide and direct NGA assistance and capacity development support. Sabi natin, ibe-base nga po ng ating mga national government agencies ang kanilang mga activities in CapDev doon sa devolution transition plan ng mga LGUs. Also, other institutional partners will be given copies to seek support and engage them in cooperative undertakings during the devolution transition. And from the DILG Regional Office at sa province, pupunta po yan sa ating central office sa DILG, na si DILG po, being a national government agency, will also give a copy to other national government agencies para ma-harmonize po, magtulungan. Paano ba tayo magtutulungan para mabigyan ng technical assistance, CapDev ang ating mga LGUs. So yun po, ganyan po ang magiging flow ng submission natin ng devolution transition plan for LGUs. Now, we need to communicate the full devolution to our stakeholders. So in doing so, meron tayong, ano ba yung ating overall objective pala? So ito po, to ensure continuity and sustainability in the provision of services to the public by laying out responsibilities corresponding to the additional resources which have to be absorbed by LGUs, while at the same time strengthening the capacity of the concerned NGAs to guide, capacitate, monitor, and assess the local government's exercise of power and autonomy as espoused in the 1991 Local Government Code. The department came up with core messages. Paano po ang ating pag-communicate sa public nitong ating full devolution? Sa next slide muna. Ang core message 1 natin, para pare-pareho tayo ng sasabihin. The Supreme Court ruling on the Mandanas-Garcia petitions is another milestone in the continuing journey towards genuine local autonomy and empowerment. The ruling clarifies the basis for the computation of LGU shares and therefore strengthens fiscal decentralization. Po. Ano ang attribute ng core message 1 na ito? Balik tayo sa slide kanina. Ang attribute or feature ng message na to is that the SC ruling is in line with the declared policy of the state on decentralization. Indicative overall reference objective to ensure, nalagay natin kanina yung reference, ano po. So for core message 2, ito yung naka-highlight, naka-box ng red po. The implementation of the SC ruling will pave the way to systematic alignment, harmonization, and complementation of the national government and local government priorities that will result to meaningful autonomy for LGUs. So this will be our core message number 2. Anong attributes ng message na to? The national government can focus on macro and strategic priorities to address persisting development issues. Should national government agencies and local governments require assistance in transitioning into their roles, help is available. Provincial governments can play a strategic role in service delivery by exercising leadership over component local governments within their jurisdiction, performing oversight functions, and providing convergence mechanisms at the provincial level. Excuse me. Sorry po. National government agencies can concentrate on setting standards and further enhancing the capacity of local governments. So yun po yung attributes ng core message number 2. For the third core message, sabi dito, beginning 2022, local governments will have the fiscal resources to provide better services and improve local governance to their constituents. So ang attribute ng message na to, the public can benefit more from better services from their local governments, responsive to their needs, to performance standards and continuous improvement. And with full devolution, civil society engagement is all the more needed, complementing the work of local governments and ensuring transparency, accountability, responsiveness, and participation in local governance. Ang ating tax sa central office, ito, sa core message 1, nag-come up po tayo ng tagline. Dagdag na pondo para sa mas mahusay na serbisyong lokal. So with the budget given po sa atin, magkakaroon tayo ng mga mag-produce tayo ng mga IEC materials wherein we can convey the messages, itong ating mga taglines po. Ang implementation po nito kasi ang pag-communicate natin sa general public and the LGUs is from July to December. So we just submitted our communications plan sa central office. Tapos uumpisahan na po natin. Magkakaroon din tayo ng mga siguro po online radio guestings, mga sa social media, baka mga Facebook Live, pwedeng mga ads, posters, etc. For core message 2, ganun pa din, ito yung ating tagline, dagdag na pondo para sa mas mahusay na serbisyong lokal. So image elements, ito yung mga ginamit po natin. Kaagapay ni lokal si national at kaagapay ni national si lokal. National government and local governments weaving together in one canvas. Another image element for kaagapay, ito ang dove, tapos hawak kamay. Ito yung mga gagamitin po nating mga images in communicating the full devolution. For core message number 3, sabi dito kasi beginning 2022, local governments will have the fiscal resources to provide better services and improve local governance to their constituents. Ang ating tagline, angat lokal, angat serbisyo. Our image elements for this is progreso. Sa mas angat na serbisyong lokal, mas dama ng lahat ang kaunlaran. Ayan. Now, what are the core messages for the internal naman sa ating mga personnel ng DILG? Ang ating core message dito, the DILG has a pivotal role in preparing and capacitating LGUs to embrace new and emerging challenges in their continuing journey towards local autonomy. In keeping with decentralization mandated by the Local Government Code, the role of DILG personnel is to set national policy and service delivery standards and to assist, oversee, and monitor LGUs. Our tagline for this as DILG personnel is matino, mahusay, at maaasahang kagawaran para sa mas maunlad at mapagkalingang mga pamahalaang lokal. So ang ating brand ambassador for the full devolution is Andres Bonifacio. These core messages for the external audience are capitulated in the acronym 3Ks or the KKK that stands for Kaunlaran, Kaayusan at Kapakanan ng Lokal na Pamahalaan para sa Mamamayan. And so the brand ambassador for the DILG Mandanas campaign is the late hero Andres Bonifacio as a champion of local autonomy and as the first interior secretary of the country during the freedom movement in colonial times. Our target audience in communicating the Mandanas are the following: the local government units, national government agencies, civil society organizations, public information officers, stakeholders and other partners, and the general public. Doon po sa ating communications plan or the work and financial plan din natin, we included the IEC materials, the posters, the pamphlets or flyers, and yung dalawang audio-visual presentation na to, meron tayong manggagaling po sa ating central office. We'll also have the radio program guestings later on, social media boosting, and capacity building and advocacy activities. So we'll have the CapDev for DILG information officers. This July po, tatawag tayo ng mga designated information officers dyan sa provinces para mapag-usapan po yung plan, paano natin i-communicate ito sa mga stakeholders natin. And online orientation of field officers and provincial focal persons, ito na nga po yung ginagawa natin ngayon, and online orientation of local government units. Next one. Next na. Ayan po. So, proceed naman po tayo sa frequently asked questions. So, every now and then po, the Department of Budget and Management, ina-update po nila yung mga FAQs. Medyo natagalan bago lumabas ito. Pero this will help us, especially tayong mga nasa field po, paano natin i-address yung mga tanong po ng ating local government units at ng mga ibang stakeholders po or ibang agencies na din or kahit sino po na may gustong tanungin sa atin. We will share this to you, itong mga FAQs. Ang nilagay ko lang po kasi sobrang dami, parang 31 pages yun. So naglagay lang po ako ng mga ilan na i-discuss lang po natin ngayon. Pero yung mga iba po, kumpletong maipro-provide po sa inyo. At kung sa mga susunod na pagkakataon, the DBM will again update and then we will provide you the updates. So this is an updated FAQs as of July 5, 2021. Siyempre, unang-una yan. Ito yung question, na-discuss naman natin sa presentation. What is the impact of this SC ruling? Actually, doon sa ibibigay sa inyo na material na FAQs, madami pong sagot. Pero ito po, kinuha lang natin yung parang meat niya. So this significantly increases the tax base on which the share of LGUs is computed from and thus strengthens fiscal decentralization. So another FAQ, what is the national tax allotment? Ano ba yung NTA? So following the SC ruling, the national tax allotment, formerly known as Internal Revenue Allotment or IRA, now covers the share of LGUs in all national taxes. When we say all national taxes, that would already include the taxes from the Bureau of Customs and other national agencies. What PPAs will be discontinued by the NGAs? So the answer to this, those which have already been devolved to local governments pursuant to Section 17 of the Local Government Code and other pertinent laws. Another question, will there be a change in the set of devolved functions of the LGUs? The answer, there will be no new and or additional functions in the set of devolved functions that the LGUs are expected to assume starting 2022. The provision of basic services and facilities to be gradually phased out, scaled down, discontinued by the national government, and assumed by the LGUs shall be consistent with Section 17 of the Local Government Code and its implementing rules and regulations and other pertinent laws. What support can the LGUs expect from the national government upon implementation of the SC ruling? Example, CapDev, Growth Equity Fund. So the answer, under Section 9 of EO 138, the NGAs, through the DILG Local Government Academy, shall provide technical assistance and capacity building interventions to all LGUs in order to ensure that the latter will be able to effectively carry out and manage the devolved functions and provide for the needs and services of their constituents. Section 8 of EO number 138 also provides for the establishment of a growth equity fund, which shall be made available to the poor, lagging, and disadvantaged LGUs that are financially incapable of allocating funds to implement the devolved services. Another question, what is the growth equity fund? Under Section 8 of number 138, series of 2021, the Growth Equity Fund shall be made available to the LGUs that are financially incapable of allocating funds and technically weak in the implementation of devolved services. LGUs with high poverty incidence, low financial capacity, and in geographically isolated and depressed areas to top up their national tax allotment. So mabibigyan ng fund itong mga less fortunate LGUs. The Growth Equity Fund will be equitable, time-bound, and performance-based, which shall be given to an LGU for a fixed time frame until the LGU is already capable of allocating funds for the devolved services. What are the options for personnel affected by the discontinued PPAs of the national government? Na-discuss na po natin ito kanina. So ito po yun. Transfer to other units, offices within the department. Transfer to other agencies in the executive branch without reduction in pay or availment of retirement benefits and separation incentives provided in the EO and subject to the discretion of the LGUs apply to vacant positions therein. Provided, however, that their employment shall be considered as a new entry of the civil service, provided further that they shall be subject to the compensation system of the LGU concerned. Okay, we have 3 more questions na nandito. What is the devolution transition plan? Under Section 5 of EO 138, the NGAs shall prepare the devolution transition plan to ensure the smooth implementation of the devolution of functions, basic services, and facilities to the LGUs. The guidelines on the preparation of the NGA DTP shall be jointly issued by the DBM and DILG pursuant to Section 17 of the IRR of EO number 138. Are the LGUs required to draft and submit their own devolution transition plan? Answer, yes. Under Section 5 of EO 138, all LGUs are requested to prepare their DTPs in close coordination with the pertinent NGAs, especially with regard to devolved functions and services critical to them. The LGU DTPs, among others, shall serve as the LGU's roadmap to ensure a strategic perspective, systematic and coherent actions towards their full assumption or devolved functions and services starting FY 2022 and shall serve as guide in the monitoring and performance assessment of the LGUs by the DBM, DILG, and NGA concerns. The guidelines on the preparation of LGU DTPs shall be jointly issued by the DILG and DBM. This will assure the LGUs that they will be assisted in planning for their implementation of full devolution. Last question for this lang, pero maraming questions yun dun sa ibibigay ko po sa inyo. What is the timeline for the submission of DTP? As provided in Section 5, the DTP of NGA shall be submitted by the NGAs concerned to the DBM for evaluation and approval within 120 calendar days after the effectivity of the executive order. Meanwhile, the timeline submission of the DTPs of LGUs shall be provided in the guidelines on the preparation of LGU DTPs and its pertinent annexes to be jointly issued by the DILG and DBM within 30 days from the effectivity of the IRR. So yun po yung ating mga frequently asked questions. So yun po. Now we proceed to our open forum. May mga tanong sa chat box and may mga gusto po kayong itanong. Masasagot lang po namin yung kaya namin sagutin dito. For other things that we cannot give you concrete answers, we will take note of that and refer it to our concerned bureaus. Thank you very much po. Check po natin. Wala sa chat box. May nag-raise po ng hand from San Manuel po, ang ating DILG officer from San Manuel. Sino? Yes po, ma'am or sir. Wala kasing nakalagay po na name. Yes, sir. Good morning. Yung question po ni Ma'am Janet, and we have a discussion on how do we classify LGUs which fall under quadrant 1 or other quadrants. Sige po, balikan po natin yung ating slide. Slide 30. Ma'am Janet? So yun po, nakikita niyo na po ba? Ayan. Ayan po yung ating slide ng ating mga 4 na quadrants. So through the LGRRC po kasi, ang mga DILG regional offices, sila po ang magde-determine ng kung saan mapupuntang quadrant ang mga LGUs. And we will base this on the results of the SGLG. Gagawin po natin yung proxy indicator yung sa SGLG para ma-determine po natin kung saan po sila magfo-fall.
Miss Alex, so it's only the SGLG tool that we can determine which quadrant will the LGUs fall.
Kasi nakapag-training na po ang City of San Fernando.
Wala na bang ibang tool?
Actually, sir,
It's only the SGLG.
So far, ma'am, yun po yung Yes, ma'am.
Hello,
Ako na lang sasagot. Ako na lang sasagot kay
Ma'am
Ate
Agnes.
Janet. Hello, naririnig ako? Naririnig ako?
Yes,
Yes po,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, sige, good morning. Yung tanong ni Ate Janet tungkol dun sa LGU segmentation, actually, yung tanong niya, dun sa, na-classify na lahat ng LGUs natin from Region 1. Meron ng LGU segmentation na nangyari, ito yung ginawa ng LGA, SLGP, at saka BLGD sa central office natin. Ang BLGS, ang ginamit nila yung ating data from the SCLG, yun ang basis niya. Pero may mga computation silang ginawa na kung saan na-classify na ang mga LGUs natin dito sa Region 1. Actually, doon sa Capacity Development Agenda, lahat naman ng LGUs natin sa Region 1 ay nakapag-submit na nito. Na-enter na rin natin ito sa OCDMS kasi yun yung isang requirement sa kanilang transition devolution plan. Sa ating region, advanced information lang ito, pero actually ko-communicate talaga namin ito. Magkakandak talaga tayo ng information dissemination or orientation regarding the LGU segmentation sa ating region para sa kanilang inventory at saka analysis at saka in-depth analysis na gagawin ng ating mga DILG officers. Kasi kailangan may analysis ang kanilang CapDev, anong inventory, anong available meron sila, at saka tagging ng kanilang saan ba kung pwede silang papasok sa foundational, sa enabling or developmental. Pero actually, mayroon tayong quadrant na classify na lahat ng ating LGUs kung saang quadrant sila nabibilang. Ang unang gumawa nito, sabi ko nga na ang LGA, ang BLGS, at saka ang SLGP. So sa Region 1, lahat ng ating probinsya ay napapabilang sa quadrant 1. So ibig sabihin high performer, high capacity sila sa lahat ng ating region. Pero for information lang ito kasi ito ay i-release pa rin na officially, no, doon lang sa meeting natin. So sa munisipyo naman merong 78 na nasa high at ang 8 cities na buong Region 1 ay nasa high. Isa lang ang nasa quadrant 3. So doon sa quadrant 2, ito sa high capacity, low performer, 12 ang nandoon. Dito sa quadrant 3 na low performer, low capacity, meron tayong 16 LGUs at saka sa quadrant 4, meron tayong 10 LGUs. Kung sino yung mga LGUs na to, itatransmit po natin. So don't worry, ulit, for information dissemination lang ang ginagawa natin ngayon. Mas in-depth analysis will come pag na-approve na po yung ating IRR at saka yung ating transition devolution plan. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. At least klaro na sa amin. Medyo natakot ako kasi kanino. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
ate.
you.
Sige, ate.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much, Ma'am Agnes. Yes po, si Ma'am Agnes po kasi yung talagang tutok po with the LGA po on the things that will be happening po regarding ang our CapDev po. Thank you, Ma'am Janet. Isang question po dito. Can the LGU initially prepare now the respective devolution transition plans in lieu of the pending issuance of guidelines in the preparation of such? Ma'am Agnes?
Sagutin ko na rin. Siguro mas maganda i-review ninyo yung inyong capacity development agenda. Yun ang una nyong gawin. Kasi nga, sabi nga natin, yung Section 70, nasa inyo na yan. So, mas maganda, i-update nyo yung CapDev nyo kasi yung CapDev nyo, ang karga ng inyong transition devolution plan will affect nung karga niya. So, mas maganda initially, ngayon, mag-review na kayo ng capacity development agenda nyo kasi attachment din ito sa inyong transition devolution plan. So, yun siguro ang mas maganda natin gawin. Kasi medyo matrabaho yung CapDev. So, i-update po natin ito kasi ang alam natin, ang capacity development agenda nyo ay nagawa nung pag-upo ng ating mga mayors ngayon. At saka baka may mga nagawa na kayo doon sa mga plans and programs doon. So, mas magandang i-update nyo yun. Kasi yun din ang magiging basis ng paggawa nyo ng transition devolution plan. Kasi kailangan natin yung format, no? Kasi uniform ito sa buong Pilipinas. Actually, natapos na nila. Sabi nga nila, within this week or next week, ibibigay na nila. Pero i-roll out kasi ito sa lahat ng LGUs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. Another question po. You mentioned that all LGUs to formulate their respective devolution transition plans. Are barangays covered by this policy? Because NTAs of barangays will also increase and have devolved functions.
Di ba sabi natin yung ating supervisory functions sa barangay will fall on the municipality, component city or city na kung saan doon sila napapabilang. So sa pagpaplano ninyo, ipasok yung i-target nyo yung inyong barangays. Yung barangay kasi medyo maliit lang yung increase nila. Actually, ang pinakamalaki talaga yung ating mga munisipyo at saka supervisory function nyo sila. So doon sa pag-target nyo ng plan, isama man nyo yung barangay. May separate daw ata na training, sabi ng LGU, doon sa ating mga barangays.
Thank you po, Ma'am Agnes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions po?
Alet, basahin mo nga yung chat box. Parang mayroong question kanina yung Pangasinan.
Sige po. Ma'am, yun po, yung barangays. Kung covered ba sila na, yung last question ko na inano po, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Salamat.
Thank you, ma'am. Other questions po kasi, I mean comment dito ni Ma'am Letlet. May LGU segmentation po na discuss kahapon. Ipapa-confirm po yata sa LGUs through our field officers. And then, isang question na nasagot na din po ni Ma'am Agnes, kung kasali din po ba ang barangay sa formulation ng DTPs? From Sir Robert po. Ayan. So, may mga katanungan pa po ba? Ma'am, may orientation din ba ang ibang agencies on Mandanas? Tanong po ng LGU Tubao. Yes po, may mga like the DBM, they will also conduct their orientation sa mga LGUs. Actually, yung mga ibang LGUs po ini-invite ang DBM. Then maliban doon sa mga initiatives po nila ng CSC, DBM, Department of Finance, yan, para po makapag-orient din sa LGUs. Regarding matters naman on finances, ganun po.
So Miss Alet, initially, ano na ngayon ang gagawin ng DILG? We still have to wait for the communication plan or the DTP of the DILG, then mag-move na rin kami dito sa baba?
Actually, ma'am, ang pwede po nating, or baka may mas kwan po na sagot si Ma'am Agnes, pero so far po, pag ano po, pwede na po, yung mga diniscuss natin ngayon, yung mga materials po dito, pwede na po ninyong umpisahan din na kahit basic orientation on LGUs muna. Hanggat wala pa po yung guidelines natin sa paggawa ng Devolution Transition Plan, hindi muna tayo siguro makakapagbigay pa sa kanila ng detalyadong technical assistance on that. Pero at least po para may background sila, may orientation na sila on the Mandanas ruling, pwede na po nating umpisahan na mag-orient sa mga LGUs na hawak natin. From DILG Dagupan City, si Ma'am Marilyn, other LGUs have templates already for DTPs, etc. Can we have them in advance too, Ma'am Agnes?
Hindi ko alam kung saan galing yung forma nila ng Transition Devolution Plan. Kasi sa central office, actually, pina-final pa lang nila. Yun ang sabi ni Yusek Marlon nung last meeting namin sa LGU segmentation. Huwag tayong magunahan kasi pare-parehas din yan. Pagka mauulit din sila. Kasi pag binigay sa atin ng galing sa DBM yung form, siguro, pero ang paggawa naman ng Transition Devolution Plan, yung assistance pa rin natin, hintayin natin, no? Yung ibababa ng ating central office. Kung yun ang sinabi nila na form from the DBM, it will be officially communicated to us. Huwag tayong nag-uunahan. Hindi ko alam. Parang may contest. Una, review natin yung CapDev natin. Yung Capacity Development Agenda. Are we sure na updated yung ating CapDev? Bakit nasa Transition Devolution Plan na tayo? When in fact, yung Capacity Development Agenda natin, attach yun sa ating Transition Devolution Plan. Yun actually ang mahirap na gawin. Yung Transition Devolution Plan is the form. Yung mga projects and programs to be included doon, na binigay na nga kasi yung ating mga national agencies, hindi pa rin sila tapos sa kanilang Transition Devolution Plan. Ano ikakarga natin pag hindi nila binigay yung Transition Devolution Plan ng national government? So ano ibabangga mo sa yung Transition Devolution Plan? May plano ka nga, may form ka na. Kung wala pa yung sa national, yung ibibigay niya sa'yo, paano mo gagawin yung iyong Transition Devolution Plan? Di ba? Kasi hindi naman ito contest. Ang sabi natin, gusto nating mauna, gawin natin yung ating CapDev, Capacity Development Agenda. Kasi ang tutulungan lang na gagawa ng kanyang CapDev ay parang 16 LGUs lang sa buong Region 1. So, yun ang gagawin natin. Sabi nila, madali na lang yung Transition Devolution Plan. Pero yung Capacity Development Agenda natin, updated ba to? Yun ang gagawin natin. Kasi i-update natin yan sa structure. Ano ba ang ibibigay na structure sa'yo? Meron bang ibibigay yung national agencies na structure sa'yo? Yun. So, mababago talaga yun. So, sa learning and development, ano yung kailangan pa ng ating mga engineers, ng ating mga DA, ng DSWD na madadagdagan ng project na training and development. Kaya talagang mag-update kayo ng inyong ng CapDev, Capacity Development Agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. From DILG Marcos, Sir Jigs, paki-share nga po if may templates na kasi LGUs are asking for the TA for the DTP preparation kasi ongoing na po ang preparation nila ng AIP, etc. Sa DBM Budget Memo 82, required po siya with the CapDev and Complan. Inaaraw-araw na po kasi ng mga MPDC for TA. I think na-capture ni Ma'am Agnes kanina sa sagot niya or baka may additional comment kayo dito, Ma'am Agnes.
Ipabot na lang natin na bilisan nila yung pagbaba kasi talagang wala pa sa atin yung form. Hindi
Yes.
tayo pwedeng humingi sa DBM kasi syempre yung i-share natin yung galing sa ating central office. Although yung DBM, siya actually ang nag-approve dun sa internal, no? Yung ating IRR na gagamitin. Sila talaga ang magbibigay nun. Pero dun sa form, ito ay workshop nila to dun sa transition devolution form na gagamitin. So yun ding 4 na agencies ang nag-workshop kung ano yung gagamitin na form. Pero as of now, sabi nga ni Yusek, hindi tayo pwedeng magbigay kung wala sa atin. So hintayin natin yung form na ibaba nila sa atin.
Thank you po ulit, Ma'am. From Ma'am Lian of DILG San Fernando City, ongoing na po ang budget preparation ng LGUs natin. Medyo atrasado po tayo sa rollout. Ano po ang magiging epekto nito sa budget ng LGUs? Or may epekto po ba?
Yung mga dapat na i-include sa budget, binigay na nila na merong circular ng DBM, di ba? Nandoon na yung mga samples na kung saan yun yung mga possible na to be devolved to the local government unit. Yung approve lang na budget circular, nandun kasi yung mga so ibig sabihin, yung pag-prepare nila ngayon ng kanilang investment plan, naayon na rin doon sa budget circular na binigay ng DBM. So most probably, yung ibibigay din ng mga national agencies na mga devolved, ayun din nandoon na sa budget circular ng ating DBM. Hindi ako sigurado dun sa sa number niya, pero kabibigay lang kasi ito yung approved na na plans and programs, ganon. Nakalagay na kung anong services. Actually, may mga sample na program na rin 'yon. So doon sa i-review natin yung yung provisions noon kasi yun naman ang guide na nila ngayon ng paggawa ng kanilang local investment plan.
Thank you, ma'am. Comment ni Sir Norman, part of the annual budget 2022 kasi ang DTP, CapDev inventories, income projections, etc. Yes po. From Pangasinan, which comes first? NGA devolution transition plans or LGU devolution transition plans? Ma'am.
NGA. NGA, di ba?
Yes po.
NGA, National Government Agencies. Anong ilalagay mo sa yung Transition Devolution Plan kung hindi niya bibigay? Hintayin natin kasi ginagawa nila yon. Then they will surely natutulungan yung ating mga local government units sa paggawa ng kanilang Transition Devolution Plan. Hindi kayo nag-iisa dyan. May kasama tayo dyan. So, antayin lang natin. Sabi natin sa mga LGUs, hintayin din natin. Kasi siyempre, late na rin na-approve kasi yung ating executive order. So June na kasi na-approve yun. So sila rin, nagkukumawag na rin gumawa ng mga Kasi sinasabi rin namin sa central office na marami nang tinatanong ng mga MLGO natin, anong technical assistance ibibigay nila kung hindi rin nila alam. So pinaparating naman natin lahat yung concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. Yes po, supposedly November 2020 ang target kasi sa timeline na ma-approve ang EO 138 pero June na nga po na lumabas. Another question from, ayan, sabi po kasi ni Dagupan, thanks po ma'am, medyo pressured yung iba kasi may umiikot na po na template sa mga group chats ng LGU functionaries. Galing naman po sa Orbisondo from MLGO Bienvenido Tamondong Jr. Good morning po to all. Nabanggit niyo po kanina yung recalibration ng budget calendar. Mababago po ba ang budget calendar this year? Kasi other LGUs this early are now preparing their annual budgets for 2020 pending the guidelines on DTP.
Wala ata akong sinabi na ano na ano yung budget calendar ay ma-recalibrate. Ang sabi ko, meron na tayong DBM circular na basis nila ng pag-prepare ng kanilang annual investment plan. Hindi ko nga lang kasi ma-remember yung number niya, pero meron ng guidance sa kanila. Kasi nung tinanong ko yung isang PPDO, sabi niya, ma'am, naibigay na po yan. Nasa amin na po yung kopya, sabi nila. So actually, nauna pa nga nakakuha yung mga taga-local government unit, LGUs, kaysa sa DILG, nung copy, nung DBM circular na yun. Hindi ako sigurado dito kasi ayaw kong sumagot dito kasi it's a DBM concern. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sabi po ni Ma'am Lian ulit, is it possible to update the CapDev na wala pa yung transition plan from NGAs? What would be the basis for updating? Ma'am?
Basahin niyo mabuti yung CapDev niyo per yung capacity pillars niya. 'Di ba? Doon sa budget circular. Basahin natin yung budget circular din na binigay nila. Kasi nandun yung mga plans and programs na to be devolved by agencies. Ilang kopya kasi yun. Basahin natin yun. Kumuha tayo ng kopya. May kopya na actually ang LGUs dito. Kung wala sa DILG, papasend ko yung copy. Hindi ko lang kasi ma-remember yung nakalagay doon. Yun na yung basis nila ng paggawa ngayon ng kanilang investment plan. Sa pag-update ng capacity development agenda, basahin nyo yun. Yung ano ba ang kailangan ng LGUs natin? Kapag ito ang program na ilalagay natin. Anong structure na maapektuhan? May training ba yung mga tao natin dito? Yung mga yung capacity pillars, dapat as a DILG officer, alam nating i-guide sila dito. So pagbasa mo ng plans and programs doon, na sample na binigay ng DBM, dapat naglalaro na sa isip mo kung ano ikakarga nila sa kanilang CapDev agenda. Thank you.
Thank you po.
Parang pinapadiscuss nyo na sa akin yung kasi hindi pa tayo nag-roll out dito. Sabi natin is information, dissemination, and orientation lang. Nandun na tayo sa nitty-gritty ng paggawa ng CapDev, ng Transition Devolution Plan. Sabi nga natin, i-roll out natin ito with the LGCDD. So huwag tayong masyadong mag-isip. Pag tinanong tayo ng ating mga LGU, sabi natin, i-guide natin sila, pero basahin nyo muna yung ating DBM circular na nandoon na guide sa paggawa ng kanilang plan. Ayun, sabi ni Norman, LBC 82. Tingnan nyo, alam nyo nga. O di yun ang basis din ng pag-review ng kanilang CapDev. Naayon pa ba yung kanilang CapDev sa provision ng LBC 82? Ano ang kailangan nila doon na banda na i-update? O, di ba? Hindi, nagtuturo ako. Hindi, joke lang. Pero maganda to kasi nag-uusap tayo. Sige. Okay, thank you, Allen.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. May message po sa taas din ang Mangaldan, ang kanilang budget section. Congratulations, kudos, and thank you so much po, DILG Region 1, for this online orientation on the Mandanas-Garcia ruling, especially initial LGU actions, update of CapDev, etc. Salamat din po, ma'am, sir. From Batak, may we know the specific NGAs affected by the devolution, which in effect their respective functions or possibly their people shall be absorbed or incorporated in the DTPs of LGUs? Meron po kanina tayo sa presentation yung mga na-enumerate na mga services po. Kung sabi, agriculture, na nandun na po yung But I think the DBM will be providing also po kung ano yung specific na mga yun. Sila po kasi yung merong parang list po.
Alet.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. In contrary to what ARD said, please be guided to all our field officers. Local budget memorandum 82, dated June 14, 2021. To all local chief executives, members of the local sanggunian, local budget officers, local treasurers, local planning and development coordinators, local accountants, and all others concerned. The subject of this LBM 82, indicative fiscal year 2022 national tax allotment shares of local government units, and guidelines on the preparation of the fiscal year 2022 annual budgets of local government units. Andito lahat yon, ang kapal niyan. So take a copy of this, get it from your, kung wala pa kayo, from the municipal budget officer, provincial budget officer ninyo, or we can, ARD, we can also provide them sa link na lang itong Alet.
Yes, ma'am.
LBM
Yes, ma'am.
82. Okay,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
everybody's info and reference. Andito, hanggang sa barangay level, how they will prepare their annual budgets.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much po, RD Julie. Thank you po. From Sir Edu Villanueva, sa pag-conduct ng capacity building, pwede bang mag-cluster ang LGUs na nasa parehong quadrant para magkaroon sila ng parehong direction? Ma'am Agnes?
Okay to low performer ka na, low capacity, magkakasama ka pa. Hindi, joke lang. Pwede yan. Yung paano yung kanilang training, wala pa sa amin yun. So nauuna kasi tayo doon sa plano na gagawin. No? Actually, sabi ko nga kanina, for information pa lang natin yun kasi kabibigay lang yung segmentation. I-verify pa natin ito. Talaga bang ito ang sitwasyon ng mga LGUs na to? So yung sinasabi kanina ni Letlet na for verification, yung result na ginawa ng ating central office. So okay lang ito, mas maganda nga magkakasama sila para yung kanilang pace, no? Yung pace ng kanilang paggawa ay nasa timing talaga. Doon sa 16 na actually, na quadrant 3, actually, ika-cluster natin ito para mas mabilis lang na magkakasama sila na low performer at saka low capacity. Meron lang sigurong kulang sa kanila. I-verify pa natin yung result. Ibibigay sa atin ng LGA. I-communicate ito through our regional director. And then the LGRC, i-communicate namin sa mga provinces. Hinihintay lang namin yung official communication. Thank you, Manang Edu.
Thank you po. Yung sabi po kanina ni Sir Bienvenido na nabanggit, ako daw po yung nabanggit po ni Ma'am Aleph kanina. Yung sa recalibration, ma'am, kasi meron yung isang sa section 11 ng ating EO 138, yung strengthening of planning, investment programming, and budgeting linkage and M&E systems. So sabi po kasi doon, iulitin ko lang po the role of RDC, which set the strategic direction for faster development of the regions, especially in the lagging areas, and facilitate alignment of the local development and the land use plans with the goals, objectives, and targets in the Philippine Development Plan. And the respective regional development plans is being highlighted. The RDCs and the regional development plans and investment programs can serve as platforms for convergence as well as vertical and horizontal alignment, thus making concrete LGU contributions to regional and national priorities. The DILG, DBM, DOF, and NEDA circulars shall be updated and the synchronized local planning and budget calendar shall be recalibrated accordingly. Yun po yung na-mention na may recalibration yung ating SLPBC. Okay po. And ayun, the calibration po is included po sa EO 138. From Ma'am Roda, sabi po niya, pwede rin po nila maging basis yung GAR in the preparation of their CapDev agenda. Thank you, Ma'am Roda. LBC 82, yung may list of devolved services and facilities, sabi ni Sir Norman. From Ma'am Janet, nasa LBM 82, okay. Tubao. From Tubao, LBC 82, nandun na rin po ang different forms for the inventory of services, CapDev, and performance monitoring system po. Ayan, may nag-share na din po ng link. Maraming salamat po. Sir Ricky Bulalakaw from LGU Bayambang. From Sir Norman, always advise po ni DBM sa LGU, work closely with the DILG MLGOOs. And from Urbistondo again, Sir Ben, kailangan po bang i-update ang CDP based on the increased revenue or the NPA na hindi pa po incorporated sa current CDP, especially sa resource mobilization?
Dapat si Kuya Sam dito ang sumagot. Hindi, joke lang. Kasi yung CapDev is part of the CDP. Di ba? Oo, part yan ng yung CDP natin. Ito kasi yung ating mga development programs na gagawin sa ating mga comprehensive land use plan, yung mga land uses natin. So development projects ang CDP. Ang capacity ng LGU to deliver yung itong development na to, ito'y nakapaloob sa ating capacity development agenda. So pag nag-update ka ng CapDev mo, dapat mag-update ka rin ng iyong CDP. Kasi siyempre, mayroon kang additional na responsibilities na ibibigay. So dapat may pasok mo yun sa comprehensive development plan mo kasi it's a development. Tapos mag-update ka rin at magre-review ng inyong CapDev agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. Ano pa po ba? Thank you daw po, ARD Agnes, sabi ni Sir Edo Vihes. Good day. Thank you din po sa inyo. Ano pa po? Ito yung slide ng DILG sa Mandanas orientation before. Nagamit naming ito sa initial discussions with the LGUs. Okay. From Mangaldan, sabi ni Ma'am Rosalie, thank you ARD Agnes for competently handling all questions and concerns. We hope to hear from you more in the future. Thank you din po. Ayun po. May nagsabi po na ang sabi ng BLGD, makiki-coordinate daw sila with DBM kung bakit na-out yung template na yon ng Devolution Transition Plan kasi hindi pa nga po final. Pina-finalize pa lang. So antayin na lang po natin yung final na template with the guidelines also. So any other questions? Okay, kung wala na po, actually itong mga lahat po ng materials na meron tayo dito, i-provide po natin sa ating provincial offices para ma-provide po sa ating mga field officers para ito po yung magamit po natin para makapag-orient po ng ating respective LGUs. May additional comments pa po ba? So kung wala na po, maraming salamat po. Before we end, may we hear, nag-discuss na kanina. Maraming salamat Ma'am Agnes. Ikaw po talaga ang aming sagot. So thank you very much Ma'am. Closing remarks?
Okay. Nag-discuss na ako kaya hindi na ako mag-closing. Day, joke lang. Sa ngalan po ng ating regional director na napaka-supportive. Actually, kahapon, nag-meeting na kami bago mag-conduct kasi sabay. No? Dalawa kasing training ngayon. So, medyo sabi niya, maghati tayo. So, napaka-accommodating po ng ating regional director. So, sa ating mga DILG officer, pag may kailangan kayo, tumawag po kayo sa ating mga focal persons, tumawag po kayo sa amin para po mas maganda at sa ating mga provincial offices, sa ating mga cluster officers, program manager, kasi sa the days ahead, sinabi nga ng ating regional director kanina, marami po talaga tayong assistance na ibibigay sa ating mga local government unit. Ang maganda po, hindi tayo kasama dito sa mare-retrench. Hindi, joke lang. Hindi po tayo maapektuhan ng sinasabi natin na Mandanas ruling na noon talagang nagkakanda computation na tayo. No? Nagko-compute tayo kasi medyo malaki yung perks na ibibigay nila kung maapektuhan man tayo. Pero nakita nila ang importance, no? Halaga ng DILG officer na gagabay pa rin sa ating mga local government unit ngayon at mayroon na silang greater financial ability at greater responsibility sa ating mga tao. Kasi sabi nga natin, maliit lang ang ating resources, dapat maximum ang utilization nito at maximum din ang service delivery na ibibigay natin sa ating mga clients, no, sa ating mga mamamayan, sa ating mga nasasakupan, sa ating local government unit. Kaya very interested talaga ang ating mga local government unit na malaman na kung paano tirahin talaga. No? Kasi nagmamadali sila na makagawa na ng kanilang transition devolution plan. Although sabi nga natin, nasa budget calendar year na sila ngayon. So talagang magmamadali sila para makakomply dito kasi for 2022, sinabi nga ng ating batas, ay implement na yung greater funds and greater responsibility sa kanila. Sa ating mga DILG officers, kayang-kaya natin ito kasi tayo subok na magkakasama. Subok na magkakasama sa pagtulong sa ating mga local government unit. At ang ating mga local government unit ay very creative and resourceful. Nauna nga sila kung minsan. Kaya dapat yung pacing ng ating pag-advance din ng ating knowledge, attitude, and skills as DILG officer ay tugunan natin sila. Kung mabilis sila, mas mabilis tayo dapat. Kasi magiging kailangan tayo doon sa ating mga LGUs. Kasi syempre, mafe-feel nila, mahalaga ang may tutulong niya sa atin. So, with this, maraming salamat sa active participation. Maraming salamat sa initiative ni Alet kasi palagi daw siyang kinukulit. Kaya sabi ko, sige na nga, payagan na natin. Although mayroon talaga tayong orientation dito para marami din at isang isasagot natin sa ating mga local government unit na magtatanong sa atin. Maraming salamat sa ngalan ng ating Regional Director, Ma'am Julie, sa LGCDD, si Kuya Sam, sa ating FAD Chief, si Ate Alice, at saka yung ating LG Med Chief na si Ma'am Roda. Huwag natin kalilimutan, actually, yung LGU segmentation is based from our SGLG. Magandang umaga po at maraming salamat. See you next Zoom meeting na sigurado kong maraming susunod na pagkikita at discussion natin. Thank you very much, Salet, and good morning.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. Maraming salamat po sa lahat. Thank you, Ma'am Julie, for your time. Thank you very much. Everybody be safe. God bless po.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Maraming salamat.